Japan approves a $118 billion stimulus package, and this liquidity will make its way to the markets. And Visa has launched USD settlement on the Solana blockchain, and the FDIC is getting ready to give approval to banks to launch stablecoins. And the Stellar blockchain just got used for UBI, Universal Basic Income, in the Marshall Islands. I'll give you the details. Let's get into it. Hey folks, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as a thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, big news coming out of Japan. So they have passed their $118 billion extra budget to fund their post-COVID stimulus. So we are seeing the central banks around the world start to stimulate by printing money. We know this is the playbook, the only playbook they have. This is the fiat currency system. And this is why you want to diversify into assets. It's what we've been talking about for years, right? And you can invest in stocks, real estate, precious metals, crypto, of course. But we know crypto is the fastest horse in the race. That's why we're taking our bets here on crypto. But I'm diversified. I have stocks in my portfolio and much more. But it's a matter of being patient. A lot of times people can't be patient. Sometimes they buy at the wrong point, right? They buy the top of the market instead of the bottom when there's blood on the streets. But folks, you know this liquidity is going to make its way to the markets. And here in the United States, we know the Fed just started quantitative easing on Friday, December 12th. They're going to be buying $40 billion in U.S. Treasury bills and much more, right? Again, this is the same playbook. So of course, it goes back to the big question, as this liquidity starts making its way into the markets come 2026, are we just going to see a relief rally for Bitcoin and then altcoins, do their thing for a little bit? Or the bull market continues? That's the big question. We have to wait and see. I don't think anybody has a definitive answer as yet. Even if you're looking at the charts and you're saying, hey, look at all the things that are happening, breaking down, there's still not a confirmation of the bear market because it's just a higher low that's set here. Now, Bitcoin could crash down to 50,000 or something like that and invalidate it, but that's where you would have your confirmation, right? But the point is, guys, this is what drives asset prices higher, liquidity, and of course, followed by sentiment. But again, the same playbook we've seen over and over. Now, look at this news. Visa launches USDC settlement for US banks on the Solana blockchain. Solana has been getting tons of adoption. Most recently, JP Morgan tokenized some commercial paper for, I think it was Galaxy Digital, right? That news came out on Friday. Solana also had their Fire Dancer update go live on mainnet. So lots of big things happening here. And this is why I hold a Solana token in my portfolio. So payment processing giant Visa has launched USDC settlement services for some United States financial institutions. Visa said Tuesday that its USDC settlement service is available for U.S. financial institutions, with Cross River Bank and Lead Bank as the first participants. They have already begun settling with Visa in USDC on the Solana blockchain, and a broader rollout is expected in 2026. The report follows USDC Issuer Circle's launch of the public testnet of its Layer 1 blockchain ARC, with over 100 major partners including Visa, MasterCard, BlackRock, and Goldman Sachs in late October. Visa noted that it is a design partner for the network, which offers the performance and scalability needed to support Visa's global commercial activity. This is huge from a crypto stablecoin adoption standpoint, because look at the names who are participating here, right? And it's huge for Solana and USDC, right? Obviously, Solana, its price can appreciate. USDC is a stablecoin, it can't. But if you're holding the Circle stock, because it's a public company now, all these things will contribute to the stock price going up. So that's how you can take your bets, right? Personally, I don't hold the Circle stock. I may buy it in the bear market bottom, or if I see a really deep correction, but I do hold a Solana token. So many of you know that already. So this is huge news. Banks are going to use crypto in many different ways: stablecoins, tokenizing, custody, trading, and much more. Here's an example. Bank of Canada lays out criteria for good money stablecoins. So this is the infrastructure, folks. We've been talking about it, right? The banks, the markets, the economies, the governments will all run on blockchain rails. So the Bank of Canada has signaled it will only approve high-quality stablecoins tied to central bank currencies to ensure stablecoins serve as good money under the country's upcoming stablecoin regulations expected in 2026. Here's a quote: "We want stablecoins to be good money like banknotes or money on deposit at banks," Governor Tiff McLem told the Montreal Chamber of Commerce on Tuesday. So, folks, we're seeing all of this play out globally, right? Different jurisdictions and countries, central banks, and even the commercial banks are all building with this technology, adopting it. So, it's just a matter of time, right? It's not a matter of if. They're going to do it. This is the future, all of it running on blockchain rails. Here's another example, and it speaks to what's coming in the future with the disruption of AI and robotics. So the Marshall Islands launches the world's first blockchain-based UBI on the Stellar blockchain. Couple of things here. I'm an XLM token holder. I'm bullish on Stellar. I most recently, I think a couple of months ago, interviewed Danelle Dixon of the Stellar Development Foundation. And UBI, Universal Basic Income, something we've talked about over the years. We talked about potentially CBDCs and stablecoins being used to fund or to process these payments, right? And here we're seeing the start of it, folks. So get ready. What we're going to see in the future, I don't know as far as the timeline, maybe by 2030, as AI and robotics mature and they're taking over entry level jobs and manual labor jobs that, robots can do, of course. And we're going to see the need for UBI. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just letting you know where I see the puck heading because there's not going to be work for people. And the government's, I think the only solution they have is they're going to have to give people money. And the only way to track that and to make sure there's not fraud and making sure people get it directly and there's not delays is via digital currencies, whether that be a stable coin, a CBDC, or whatever else. So let me give you some details here because this is very, very interesting. So the Republic of the Marshall Islands has completed the world's first on-chain disbursement of universal basic income using a digitally native sovereign bond, USDM1, via the Stellar blockchain. Developed in partnership with the Stellar Development Foundation and infrastructure provider Crossmint, the multi-million-dollar initiative is part of the Republic of the Marshall Islands National UBI program, known locally as ENRA, the Marshall Islands Finance Ministry confirmed. The program replaces quarterly physical cash deliveries with direct digital transfers to eligible citizens, many of whom live across widely dispersed islands. Folks, again, this is coming and it's going to be a global movement. You're going to see it here in the United States as well. There's going to be low income people who, maybe their jobs are going to get replaced and they're definitely going to get this. The big question is, will middle class people get it? Maybe some whose industries get hit hard. And while they still have a job, maybe their income has dropped, because the business itself is not generating as much revenue, right? And I'm just speculating here. I could be wrong. There's a lot of deep thought that has to go into this and the economics of it and so forth. What we do have to watch out for is programmable money where governments can use that against you, a la CBDCs. So that is something we're going to have to keep monitoring. And remember, that CBDC ban bill did not make it into the Defense Act recently. I remember I reported that to you guys. So USDM1 is a US dollar denominated sovereign bond fully backed by short-term US Treasury bills. The bond is distributed through the Stellar disbursement platform into a custom-built digital wallet app called Lamalo, developed by Crossmint. Lamalo allows recipients to receive funds instantly via Crossmint wallets on the Stellar network. Incredible stuff, folks. Now, if you're an XLM token holder, this is bullish, right? Because you're seeing utility and building on the blockchain. And once again, I'm not a supporter of UBI or that I want that to happen, but I'm just looking down the line and I just see the disruption that's coming. And I think the only playbook these governments have is they're going to have to get people money. And we're going to have to see how that plays out. How can people use that money? Are there any limits, what they can buy and all that stuff? So this is something to keep paying attention to. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Uphold, which makes crypto investing easy. You can buy, sell, and trade crypto on Uphold. They have 300 plus crypto assets. They also offer staking on 20 plus crypto assets. So you can go there and stake your crypto and earn a great yield and rewards. And folks, I've been a longtime user of Uphold. They're one of my go-to exchanges. They are reliable. I've never had any issues with them. They even have a XRP card and Uphold card where you can spend your crypto and much more. more. And folks, they are fully reserved. They don't commingle or lend out your crypto assets. And they have a stablecoin rewards program called Uphold Rewards, where you can earn up to 5.25% on stablecoins, and you get 24-hour early access to new tokens that they list. Now, the tokens or the stablecoins they support includes Ripple's RLUSD, you earn 5% there, Circle's USDC, you earn 2% there, and USBC, you earn 5.25% there. And to participate, you simply have to open the app once per month, deposit $50 once per month, and trade $50 once per month. Very simple, very easy. So if you have a dollar cost averaging strategy, you can do that and earn this great yield. And folks, they do it the right way. They're not doing anything shady. I've interviewed the CEO and many representatives from Uphold, and they went through all the details here. So a great platform. Once again, I'm a long-term user and supporter of this platform. I can vouch for it. So if you'd like to learn more about Uphold, check out the link in the description. Now, folks, big news coming out of the FDIC. So Eleanor Terrett reported that this morning, the FDIC board voted to open a 60-day public comment period on its process for banks seeking to issue stablecoins via subsidiaries. So there's some more details here from a full report, but folks, we know the banks want to issue stablecoins, right? JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, we've heard the news and the rumblings and the rumors and much more. And it's going to be interesting to see how these banks do with their stablecoins versus the ones that are already in the market, like your Tethers and your Circle USDC and Ripple RLUSD and PayPal PYUSD. I do believe there is room for multiple stablecoins, but at some point it might be too many and there's going to be need for consolidation. Or some of these banks try to go buy, some of the stablecoin issuers. Maybe they try to go buy Circle and USDC, right? If I was a bank, I would try to do that so I don't have to go do the whole development of this. But, we shall see. So the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, also known as the FDIC, is moving forward with rulemaking under the U.S. Genius Act by proposing a framework for how regulated banks could apply to issue payment stablecoins, a key early step in implementing the law's stablecoin provisions. In a 38-page document posted on the FDIC's website, the agency detailed proposed approval requirements for the issuance of payment stablecoins by subsidiaries of the FDIC supervised institutions. And as Bloomberg reported, the proposal is subject to a public consultation period before advancing to the next stage of rulemaking process. Now, I believe the timeline is 60 days or so, but folks, see what's happening here. It is very interesting. The infrastructure being set up for the major banks, obviously tied into the Fed and much more, to be able to issue stablecoins and do much more with crypto. It's amazing. Now, speaking of stablecoins, look at this. Tether leads $8 million funding for a Lightning startup focused on stablecoins. So this is interesting. I don't know why you would need a Lightning network for stablecoins, but let's go through the details. Stablecoin giant Tether has led an $8 million investment round in Bitcoin startup Speed to support its mission in enabling more enterprise stablecoin payments on the Bitcoin Layer 2 Lightning Network. Speed's architecture demonstrates how Lightning and stablecoins can operate together to move money at a high scale with low fees, strong compliance, and global reach, Tether said in a statement on Tuesday. Speed's execution and adoption signal that Bitcoin-rooted networks are ready for mainstream commerce, Tether's CEO Paolo Ardoino added. So it's essentially they're building a Layer 2 with stablecoins to allow payments on the Bitcoin network. Now, let's see how that works out, because one of the challenges for Bitcoin is in being able to scale for day-to-day use. It's a great store of value. It's digital gold, but for payments, not great, right? I think we can all agree on that. And the Lightning Network, while that offered some sort of solution, it hasn't gotten the global scale of adoption and, has had some challenges. So let's see what they come up with here. I think someone's going to figure it out. And, that could really help Bitcoin, but we shall have to wait and see. And here's some more stablecoin news. Redotpay raises $107 million Series B led by Goodwater for stablecoin payments. So a lot of money coming in to back stablecoin innovation, folks. So stablecoin payments company Redotpay has raised $107 million in a Series B round, bringing its total funding in 2025 to $194 million. The round was led by Goodwater Capital with participation from Pantera Capital, Blockchain Capital, and Circle Ventures, alongside continued backing from existing investors, including HSG. Founded in Hong Kong, Redotpay offers stablecoin-based payment products, including a card that enables users to spend digital assets, stablecoin power payout rails for cross-border transfers, and services that allow users to access and hold stablecoins through multi-currency accounts and a peer-to-peer marketplace. Red.Pay has more than 6 million registered users in over 100 markets, processes more than $10 billion in annualized payment volume, and generates over $150 million in annualized revenue, the company said in a Tuesday press release announcing the raise. So, folks, you see the capital that's being put into this market, whether it be companies, coins, or whatever, to build out the infrastructure for mass adoption, right? It's pretty amazing what's interesting, and I'm waiting to see the likes of Walmart and Amazon and Google and so forth to see how they integrate this. I think that's going to come soon. You know, we just talked about the Visa news earlier and how banks are going to use it. I think it's just a matter of time before we see these big retailers also come in. Now look at this news. Solana enters Brazil main exchange as Valor expands a regulated crypto access. So Valor, a subsidiary of publicly listed digital asset company DeFi Technologies, has received approval to launch a Solana exchange traded product in Brazil, offering local investors regulated exposure to one of the largest cryptocurrencies by market capitalization as institutional interest in the region continues to grow. So the product, Valor Solana, is scheduled to begin trading on Wednesday following approval from Brazil's main stock exchange, Brazil Bolsa. If I'm saying that right, DeFi Technologies announced Tuesday. The Solana product will join Valor's expanding lineup of Brazil-listed ETPs, which already provide exposure to Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and SWI. So, folks, the crypto investment products are being built. They're getting listed on stock exchanges and different major financial firms. So, major on-ramps being built here. This is all great. So, over time, this will lead to more liquidity coming in, driving prices higher. Okay, some really great news. The SEC has dropped their case against Aave protocol. Many of you know Aave is a DeFi protocol, Ethereum based, right? And it's, I think, the largest, if I'm not mistaken, DeFi platform. And you can do a lot of borrowing and lending on there. So Stani here, the founder of Aave, tweeted out about that. After 4 years, we are ready to finally share the SEC has concluded its investigation. Now, most recently, the SEC dropped their case against Ondo. So we're seeing a lot of these legacy cases, which started under Gary Gensler, scumbag regulator Gary Gensler, are being dropped, rightfully so, because these are just protocols. People, are, as long as they're not breaking the law, leave them alone. Let them do their thing. If they broke the law, you know, they're doing something fishy or scamming people, like a Do Kwon who just got sentenced, right? Yeah, you go after them, right? But we want to make sure that innovation is not being stifled here. But we know Gary Gensler, Elizabeth Warren, they were lobbied by the banks who were getting disrupted, and that's why they were doing all the nonsense. But great to see these things wrapping up, guys. This is just great news. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Folks, be sure to subscribe to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free on Substack. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. And my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know about crypto. Check it out, folks. Links will be in the description. Folks, I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all later.